Alright, of course, to kick off this ultimate Phase 3, had to go with Civil War. Captain America 3 Civil War honestly set the bar in so many different respects. Man, I'm so up there. And I really appreciated what they did with it. I enjoyed it, but I'm gonna just break this down as minimalistic as possible because I've got a lot to do and so little time. But the way that I feel about the movie really hasn't changed, but it might surprise you way that I think about this film. So the two highlights of this film for me were definitely Tom Holland as Spider-Man Peter Parker, probably the best incarnation of Peter Parker from the comics put on film. Period. Like, he did better in this movie than probably he did in his own movie, in my personal opinion. Like, it was just spot on. The second highlight is Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman nailed it. The world immersion that is Black Panther. If you've already seen Black Panther, make sure you go and see this movie because this was the start of the dynasty, so to speak. And like, I actually honestly like the costume in this one better. I thought that the fighting was even more dope with Black Panther in this one. But what his presence, it was just, the man was just like a Terminator, man. He couldn't be stopped. Winter Soldier couldn't even do anything against him. That was another highlight. Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan really added a great element to this one because this is a Cap movie. And of course, Chris Evans nails it as usual. The problem with this film comes in where how do I put this without saying anything too bad? Take away Spider-Man, take away Black Panther, and what do you have in terms of the shell of this film? You've got heroes fighting. And that's really it. But by the end of the movie, it resolves itself in a phone call that most notably is going to be that eventually by the time Infinity War, like, everybody's just going to be okay with each other. Even though people went to jail, even though sacrifices were made, even though things like really got brought to a really bad standstill. Oh yeah, and by the way, they brought Thunderbolt Ross into this one from Incredible Hulk. I thought that was really dope. Thought they could have easily brought in Betty, but what can you do about that? But it was kind of just like, I felt like there was a lot there, but I felt like this movie really could have just been an Avengers film, and it would have serviced itself a little bit better as a two-parter, and just really diving into how these things are going to lead up to Infinity War versus it just being one contained film. Now, one contained film, I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm saying it's very impactful. It's very action-packed. It set the stage for Spider-Man. It set the stage for Black Panther. It set the stage for ultimately what's going to happen with Infinity War and them having to come back together even in spite of their own pain, that they have to work together as a unit. This honestly facilitated itself like an Avengers film. But it wasn't an Avengers film. So it's kind of just like, it was this back and forth battle in my head. I was just like, this was a lot. And even with the airport battle, as cool as it was and as dope as it was just kind of just like, nothing of consequence necessarily happened. Now, I will say that arc with Tony Stark and with finding out what happened with his parents, with Winter Soldier, and that fight, you know, it really does tug at your heartstrings. The more I watch this film, that part really does hit and is impactful. But this movie is not in comparison with the comics. A lot of people will say off gate, well, the comics sucked anyway. And a lot of people can definitely attest to that. But it's like, if you're going to go on comic book accuracy, the scope would have been so much more broader. And it's like on those kind of levels of Infinity Wars. And it's just like it couldn't match that necessarily with the right kind of timing. And I think I get it. It's kind of like a sacrificial lamb situation, kind of like Age of Ultron. I get why they had to kind of gut this movie and they had to kind of keep it self-contained. If you read behind the lines with both of them and like what it's all led up to, it's led up to this. So some people would say this is one of the best, but I still say Winter Soldier is a way better story, way more believable and way more hype. But this one definitely has some of the best action moments in a comic book movie, ultimately. But as far as what I would review and give it a number rating, I'd probably give it at this point an 8.5. I thought it was a great film, but it just wasn't, I thought it just could have been a little bit more deeper. You know what I'm trying to say? But again, there was a lot of things that happened. It was really dope, really fun. I can always watch it. But if Black Panther and Spider-Man were not in there, it would have serviced a different kind of tone for me personally. But hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Go down to the description bar below. Check out my Stardust listing, because essentially I want you guys to @JVS us so I can be able to see what your reaction is to this movie, so I can add it in part of the compilation, okay? Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Peace, guys. I went way over my time. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.